What's going on, LinkedIn? What's going on, Master Connectors? We are live and on here and ready to rumble. Let's get going.
He challenged me. He said, you should meet 2 or 3 people every day.
We're talking about how to level up on LinkedIn and engagement, leading the go-giver, the idea that being open to opportunity.
We all deal with challenges, but how do you overcome that?
Master Connector with Steve Spiro and Cameron Toth is live on air.
Yes, we are live on air here. What's going on, friends? Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct. Not coming at you from Stamford, Connecticut, like I normally am. I'm actually in the Chrysler Building down in New York City, the Big Apple. Yep, and it's going to be an interesting day. So I'm not quite in my normal environment with my normal green screen and my normal double screens and all that stuff and the good sound and audio. And so we're making do. And also don't have my co-host Cameron, but he's enjoying Mexico, well deserved and needed time off. So if you're stuck with me today and our amazing guests. But it's going to be a great show. I'm excited. I want to make sure you're tuning, you tell us where you're tuning in from. So get in the comments and share with us where you're from, where you're tuning in from. We want to hear, today's show is going to be amazing. It's going to be incredible opportunity to learn and to grow and to really be common. And so, so I'm from Stamford, obviously. Normally, our guest is from up in Storrs, Connecticut. I believe Manchester, but it's going to be great. So make sure you get in the comments, participate. We believe in LinkedIn participants, not LinkedIn lurkers. So get in there, comment, and it's a good way to network with each other, right? Connect with each other as people get in the comments. Because listen, if you're not in the comments, nobody knows you're there. I don't know you're there, right? So we want to know that you're here and you're so get in there and just tell us where you're from. Share this out to community. If you want to put a little information about what you do and all that's great too. So we are the Master Connector Show, so it's all about connecting. But anyway, let's get into this. I'm going to go ahead and introduce our guest. So I'm going to bring him in the studio and I am going to expand him. But we are excited to have on the show here. So let me go ahead and actually, you know what? Before we do that, just bear with me. Again, I'm doing this, filling in here. So I'm gonna put you back out again. But I want to set this up, right? I want to set this topic up, and I want to give you some context as to why we're talking about the show, right? So, listen. Do you ever wish you could break free? I'm not just talking about breaking free from external constraints, but also the profound journey of liberating ourselves from the personal restraints that both we and others have placed upon ourselves, right? We all know sometimes we could be our own best critic, right? In a world where expectations and limitations can feel suffocating and choke us, right? Our guest is here to shine a light. We're all about being a light, right? Shine a light on a path to an emancipation, right? That sounds pretty broad, but pretty amazing, right? But it is. And we're honored to have with us an individual who embodies the essence of breaking free, as a guest here. And his story is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Through his experience as a 2-time Junior Olympic wrestler, he truly understands the power of breaking free, right? Physically, you could take that literally, right? As a wrestler, right? But from not only physical limitations, but also the internal barriers, as we said, we place on ourselves, right? The idea of breaking free goes beyond shedding physical restraints. It's all about dismantling the mental cages. Can you get a visual on that, right? That holds us back, right? We often let our doubts and fears dictate our choices, preventing us from reaching our full potential. So in today's show, we're gonna go on a journey into transformation that can occur when we take ownership of our life, right? Remember, we're victims, not victors, right? We're victors, not victims, right? And challenge self-imposed limitations and release the grip, right? Again, good wrestling terms, right? Of others' expectations. We will explore the tools and mindsets that shift, the mindset shifts that allow us to break free. And this episode will help us toward embracing our authentic selves. Again, we're all about authenticity, right? Stepping into our power and rewriting the narratives that have confined us for far too long, right? We love stories here, right? So narratives and stories. So buckle up and get ready for an episode filled with empowerment, self-discovery, and the steps to reclaim our lives from the grip of restraint. As we embark on this journey of liberation, remember that breaking free is not just an action, it's a state of mind. So if you're ready for us to break free and to introduce our guest, I want you to type in the comments right now, #free, and we're going to go ahead and bring up our guest. So put in the comments, hashtag free, and let's bring them up, all right? All right, here we go. Oh, wrong person. There we go. There we go. All right. So Daniel Blanchard is a best-selling and award-winning author, speaker, educator, and TV host featured on over 100 TV and radio shows and several of the world's top 10 podcasts. Dan is also a life coach, two-time, as I mentioned, Junior Olympian Wrestler, and two-time Junior Olympian Wrestling coach. He grew up as a student athlete and is first to admit that he was more that he's more an athlete than a student in high school. Okay, I can relate to that. I wasn't much of a student, but to make up for it, he completed 14 years of college and earned 7, count it, 7, not 6, not 5, 7 degrees is writing his 38th book, and just did a TEDx talk. So please welcome to the show the unbelievable, the amazing Mr. Dan Blanchard. How you doing, sir?
Wonderful, Steve. Happy to be here and spend some time with you and your.
Absolutely, very, very cool. Well, I appreciate it. It's been great getting to know you in a previous conversation, and obviously getting a chance to have you on the show. And we're extremely blessed, and this is going to be a fun journey. So, community, if you're ready, type in #journey as we go and we embark on this journey together. We're going to talk about some things here. So, first question for you, Dan, right? Your journey from a student athlete to a prolific author, right? And a speaker and educator, honestly, is inspiring. So could you share a personal experience where you applied the principles that it's not what happens to you that matters, but it's what you do about it?
Gosh, got so many of them growing up that it's kind of hard to pick one. But let me just start with like a generalization here and see if I can maybe dwindle it down to something good. I don't know how much of your audience has heard of adverse childhood experiences. It's called the ACE score. You get about, let's say, 64% of the population has a score of like 1 or like less, like 0. And that's good. You know, you want to be low at that point, because if you have higher ACE scores, means more crazy, bad, traumatic things have happened to you. And the bigger the chances are that your life is going to be messed up and you're going to be that victim for your entire life, right? So my score, right, it's a 7. It's off the charts. We're talking 1%. 1% in the country have a 7. I should have been dead, in jail, eternal victim, eternal loser, eternal messed up in the head, not able to get anywhere, right? But what I did was, instead of just being a victim and instead of just being angry at these terrible things that were happening in my life, like day after day after day, what I did was I took that anger and I put it toward doing something positive, which was sports. My brother put it towards street fighting, getting into trouble, getting arrested. I put it into sports. My brother went to jail. I went to champion podiums, right? My brother got his hand raised and clamped with like handcuffs. Me, I got my hand raised and medals put in my hand, right? From using that anger, that indignation, using that to do something in your life to give yourself, that gives you energy. So it gave me energy to go do something that made a difference, something that allowed me to build some self-esteem instead of the road my brother went of being a total victim, being total angry, being a street fighter, in and out of jail constantly. And then sadly, he didn't live a long life, sadly. So for me, don't be a victim. If you're being mistreated, if things are going wrong, whatever. Just funnel that energy, that anger, that indignation, funnel that into doing something positive in your life. And I would say that I've done a lot of positive things in my life with that. And I almost got to thank it, because that's the energy that most people don't have. I have to do those good things because, I'm not going to just let it beat me up and
Yeah.
leave.
That's awesome. That's great. And listen, I could relate, right? And that's why, I think we resonated so well with each other as we had our first initial call. Because listen, I was bullied, picked on, right? But I learned to take those challenges, those struggles, right? And that's one of the pillars of our show, right? Taking, having the grit to overcome obstacles, right? And turning those challenges into one of my biggest assets, right? I've learned to be persistent and to break through barriers and be creative and work around challenges through my learning disability, right? So there's all these things that we have. And it gives us the ability to make us stronger, right? I always see, one of my mentors have said for years, right? Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? But it strengthens us, right? It does, right? For sure. So
Yeah,
it's
if you
great.
make choice, Steve. Some people use it as an excuse to do bad things and go to jail. Other people use it as an excuse to be like a world champion.
Yep. Yeah, keep going there.
Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, we all have these choices in our life. You know what I'm saying? I think back of a story that I saw not too long ago. There was these two guys, they were bricklayers, and they're laying the bricks. Right? And somebody comes up to him and says, "What are you doing?" The guy one. And guy one says, I'm laying these bricks. I'm a bricklayer. I'm laying these bricks. Right? Yeah, that's what I'm doing. He goes to the second guy, "What are you doing?" And the guy goes, "I'm building a cathedral." You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Similar circumstances, but one is on a mission to do good, and the other is just frustrated and going through the motions.
That's right. It's all how you look. It's all perspective. It's what, that's exactly it. And I tell that story. I have a third one, right? The third one in between the last one is, I'm actually putting up a wall, right? So first is I'm laying bricks, putting up a wall, and then I'm building a cathedral, and it's just perspective, right? Absolutely. And what you do with what you have, right? I love that. So, all right, let's keep rolling here. So we're going to talk about purpose. So, community, if you're ready, I want you to type in the comments #purpose, and here we go with the question, right? So many people, including me, struggle with finding their purpose in life, right? It took me quite a while. How did you discover your own purpose, and how can our community identify the reasons that they were born into this world? I really believe that everybody has a reason they're here. It's not just we're not an accident, right? So tell us your perspective on that, if you wouldn't mind, Dan.
Oh, I so agree. Every single one of us has a purpose. It's so hard to find it. And sometimes we find what could be a temporary purpose. For me, my temporary purpose was like fighting. I was really good at fighting, really good at wrestling, and then combat sports, like, contact sports. I was really good at football. I was really good at, weightlifting. And when I broke the Connecticut bench press record, when I was in the Army, I was the push-up champ. So all things physical was what I thought was my mission statement. I was put here to be a personal trainer, a wrestling coach, strength coach, all those sorts of physical things. But then what happened was I started getting these injuries, and my identity was, and I was like, what is my purpose in life? My purpose in life is over. That was my purpose in life. But a strange thing happened, Stephen. What you said earlier about it taking a long time is so true. I went from what I thought was my purpose, physical, to a new purpose. And over the span of at least a decade, my students kept telling me, I'm an inner city school teacher, which is a very frustrating job, by the way, many times. But during that decade, my students kept telling me, and they were different students, and I was hearing this over and over and over, and they were saying, "Mister, you are the most inspirational teacher we've ever had. You should be telling everybody about us. You should write a book or something." And for over a decade, I was like, thanks, but no thanks. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, that kid's so young and naive. They don't realize that I'm a terrible writer. They don't realize that I have nothing that nobody wants to hear. Maybe even outside this classroom, sometimes even in this classroom, my students don't want to hear what I have to say. Who the heck would listen to me, right? But then after 10 years of doing that, I finally broke down and I said, maybe my students are seeing something in me that I'm not seeing. And I've heard somewhere that when people keep saying similar things about you, that you're good at this, that you're inspiring here, that you should be doing that, when you keep hearing that, not from one or two people, but when you hear it from a bunch of people over the years, there's something there that you're not seeing. There's something there that you need to explore more. All right. And it took me over a decade to get the guts to sit down with myself and start exploring what people have been telling me all along. And then next thing you know, I'm an author, I'm a speaker, and I'm changing this world in positive ways. And it's not just like a physical thing anymore, like coaching wrestling or winning championships or playing football, coaching football. It's not just that way. It's in a much bigger, broader way of much, much broader circles where I can positively influence so many more people than just the ones, let's say, that were on my football field or on my wrestling mat. You know what I'm saying? So that it's a arduous struggle. It's a long struggle, but it's there. Your passion, your mission, it's there. So keep your ear open to what other people are saying about you.
Love it. I love it. Yeah, and I know you're an author as well, and I'm blessed that I was able to get the book out. But I'm with you, right? It's all about your legacy. It's all about what you could leave behind. It's all about the influence that you have over people, and how many people can you touch? How many lives can you impact? And the book was just that was one reason, right? For me to write the book, right, was the ability to have that extra impact, right, for people. So, but I love what you're saying, right? And so for me, to find that purpose, I needed to. I wrote a mission statement. I wrote a life mission statement, and people have heard that before, but I did, and it really, really helped. And often when I read it, I get emotional because it's not just a mission statement. I want to help the world. No, there's some like a lot of stuff in there, so it's important to do something, do some soul searching to come up with really what that reason that you're here is about, right? For sure. Yep. All right, we're gonna keep rolling. We want to talk about overcoming, right? One of our pillars of the show is overcoming obstacles, right? And so let's chat about that. With your background in wrestling, right, both as an athlete and a coach, can you tell us about particular moments where your students had to overcome challenges, aligning with the idea that our future selves want us to be happier and more successful?
That's great. This story pops in my mind real quick. I remember when I was coaching wrestling, I had this little 95-pound wrestler, right? And he went out there and he was wrestling this kid. And this kid was probably 103. Doesn't sound like much, but 8 pounds is a lot, right? And it was an older kid. He was a freshman. This kid was an upperclassman. And this kid was beating the heck out of my boy Jason, right? And this boy took my boy Jason and threw him, and he rolled off the mat. And I ran over, I picked Jason up, and I started walking him back to the mat. And I'm whispering into his ear. And I'm like, Jason, listen to me. Someday you're going to be a big, strong man. Someday you're going to be bigger and stronger than me, your coach. Okay? I want you to become that man. Try to become that man right now when you step out onto that mat. Think already that this is your future self. You're that big, strong man. Step out on that mat. And when the ref blows the whistle, his head's been leaning. I want you to snap him down, drive your head into his side, crate him up and pin him. Trust me, the big, strong man, Jason, can do this, right? And he went out to the center, right? Both wrestlers came back to the center. Ref blew the whistle, and the other wrestler dipped his head just like I told Jason he would. Jason snapped him down, drove his head into his side, crouched him and he cradled him up, drove him to his back, and pinned him. Right? Jason jumped up, ran across the mat, jumped on me, gave me the biggest hug, and I'm like, Jason, someday you'll be too big for me to hold you like this.
Love that.
All right. And he went back to the center, shook hands. The referee raised his hand, and I have never seen a smile so big on little Jason's face. And now here I am all these years later, and guess what? Jason's bigger than me.
Well, I'm like 5'7" barely, so pretty much everyone that I've mentored and coached and trained have all become bigger than me. But anyway, I appreciate that, and that's so cool. And what I've learned from some of my mentors is, first you need to become in your mind who you want to be, and then act as if you are that person so that you could eventually become that person, right? So you gotta act as if, for sure. Yeah. Before we get into the next topic, I just want to acknowledge some people on the that are here tuning in and are brave enough to get in the comments. Thank you, Jack, for good to see you, sir. Parker, my man, in the house, and of course our incredibly amazing friend and loyal viewer from our community, Yolanda Chin is in the house as well. And I know there's a bunch more others that are just shy and not looking to get in the comments, but we'd love to see you in the comments so we know you're here. I want to just bring this up here. I bet Jason never forgot that moment to tell him and tells the same story. I bet you're right? And that's the cool thing, right? Is as we leave this planet, the stories and the things that the impact we've had on people, they're able to share that beyond us, our time here on this planet. So that's amazing. So, well, good stuff. So we're going to keep rolling here because we want to cover a lot of ground here if we can. So here, we wanted to touch on now. This is the reason we're on this call here, right? And that is break free, right? So type in hashtag break free community. And here's the question, right? You've been featured on numerous TV and radio shows, okay, podcasts, and even a TEDx talk. Pretty cool. Can't wait to get to do mine. How did you break free from any self-doubt or fear of public speaking? I know that's one of the biggest fears that most people have, right? Fear of death is probably higher than public speaking. So fear, how'd you break through the doubt and self-doubt of public speaking and to confidently share your message with such a diverse audiences?
Well, that's definitely a very good question. And I said there's a lot of different ways, let's say your audience, to break free of from that fear of public speaking and anything in their life. And there's a couple of different ways that kind of pop into my head. I mean, probably the simplest way to do it, right, is to have a mentor or teammate, right? When you have a mentor or teammate, somebody that's encouraging you, doing it right along with you, maybe someone who's a little bit higher up the mountain than you, saying they encourage you, and you start to, like, maybe without even noticing it, you start to, like, mimic them a little bit. You start to borrow a little bit of their fear. And I would say that's a little bit of their courage. All right. And I say that's probably some of the best ways and easiest ways to do it. Not all of us have that. Okay. So I say, find that. Not easy to do. But another thing is I would say I would look at books. I would look at blogs. I would look at vlogs. I would look at YouTube videos. I would look at great podcasts like this one that you're running, Steve. I would look at these things that you can borrow courage and vision from that makes you braver. I mean, gosh, fear is always in my life. I feel fear every single day. And it's not that you don't feel fear when I don't feel fear when I step up on that stage. I'm just being courageous. Right? And I think I might be maybe one of the most courageous people I know, because I'm like one of the most scared people I know. I have fear in my life like every day, but I do something about it. Okay. And those two routes I just told you are probably the easier routes to do it. Now, there's sometimes when you don't even have that. Okay. So what do? Now, for me, I've always found that taking action, putting one foot in front of another, telling somebody, or maybe let's say posting it, or even just saying it in your head, or making an affirmation, or making it a mission statement or a vision statement and posting it on the wall or the bathroom mirror while you're brushing your teeth, right? You got to start taking some kind of actions. And when you start putting one foot in front of another, part of your brain may be saying, this is crazy, this is crazy, this is crazy, this is crazy, right? But then there's another part of your mind saying, crap, people are watching. You better freaking do this. You're going to look like a fool. Right? You better open your mouth and say something if you're on, once you've walked on that stage, right? Or you got somebody on the phone or who's saying, hey, can you come speak there? And you're just like, and you're like, this is crazy, I'm scared. But you're like, yes, of course, I'll come and speak at your event, right? You do these things. And how do you do these things? Because you're taking action. Action gives you courage. Action builds momentum, it builds your courage, and those courage muscles get stronger through action. And then if you could bring in some of those other things I talked about, totally building up your what I like to call the emotional bank account, right? Building that up with positive things in your life, books, tapes, speeches, podcasts, YouTube videos, right? Good friends. And then of course the other one of the best ways, bring on that mentor, bring on that teammate that you spend a lot of time with, who's just a little higher up the mountain than you, and you can borrow their courage. And they will constantly tell you, hey, this is not that hard. Trust me, it's not that hard. Come on, you could do this. This is easy. You could do this. And your mind changes. You start getting that growth mindset, right? Instead of that fearful, like, fixed mindset, right? You can do this. You can do this.
That's
Just
right.
do what happened. It's happened for me. It happened for you.
Love it. Yeah, I've heard the phrase "action cures fear." Obviously the cliche fear, and then the acronym "false evidence appearing real." But I love that, right? And if you just, I heard also fear the fear and do it anyway, right? It's another one. But yeah, this is just take action, do something, acknowledge you have fear, but that's okay. But move forward anyway. Love
and
that.
Steve, piggyback on that real quick. The TEDx talk I just gave was talking about push and play, and what it is I was trying to change the paradigm through my TEDx talk. When most people feel the heart pounding because they're scared, that's a sign to like run and hide. That's a sign. I sit down, hoping nobody will see you. Don't make any noise. Right? Nobody will see you, right? That's the sign. What I'm saying is that when you feel that heart beating in my TEDx speech, when you feel that heart beating, that's your sign to say, push play, baby. Let's do this.
That's right. Love that. Love that for sure. All right, we're going to keep rolling. We want to hear a little bit about, I know you had 38 books. So type in hashtag 38 books, or you're on your 38th book, I guess, is what you had said, right? So I want to talk to you about, writing 38 books is obviously an impressive achievement. And could you elaborate on a book, maybe one of those, that you believe strongly embodies the concept that our responses to life's events are what truly shapes our outcome?
All right, great. So I just published my 38th book, and they're in different sorts of things. But if you asked me this question like 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago, or even like 2 years ago, I probably would have said my book, The Storm, How Young Men Become Good Men. And it's a teenagers leadership book. And there's just so many things in there about breaking free from those mental cages, those invisible chains that we all put on each other. But in the last year, even less than the last year, even more recent than that, I've recently published my memoir. And my memoir is kind of like The Storm, like on steroids, right? There's way more info in there, way more detail, way more strategies and stories about breaking free. So if today, the book I would suggest is my memoir called A Fighting Chance. And when people read that book, they go, wow, you really did have the odds stacked against you. And I kept rooting for you, thinking about what's he going to overcome next. Now, you see that? What's he going to overcome next? Unconsciously, it wasn't like poor Dan's getting his butt kicked. Oh my God, is Dan going to die? But it was like, I kept rooting for Kid. I couldn't wait.
That's right.
See what Dan was going to overcome next. And when you're
going to do next,
it transfers unknowingly. It transfers over to, without you thinking about it, without you knowing about it, it's just transferring over to like, I wonder what I can overcome next. Every time they're rooting for me, saying, I can't wait to see what Dan overcomes next, they're really saying to themselves without realizing it, I wonder what I can overcome next. And it's planting a seed for them to push that play button.
Love it. Love it. Hey, I just want to acknowledge Yolanda. Yolanda said, hey, when you see someone who is confident and comfortable speaking in front of others, it can help you to feel more confident in your own abilities. I like that. Well said, Yolanda, for sure. Yeah. And I, for a million years, would have never guessed myself as a public speaker, as an inspirational speaker. But I saw people and I said, hey, if that person can do it, I can do it too. Right. It's that, to me, that's the name of the game. So great stuff. All right. We're going to keep moving here. I want to go to the next topic here. So we're going to get to the mindset, right? I love mindset conversations. And so we're going to talk about mindset. And so as a life coach, you must have encountered people struggling to break free from negative thought patterns, right? We're kind of touching on this. Can you share a technique or advice to help our community, amazing community, reframe their mindset and take positive actions?
I think, Steve, mindset's something that we all have to be aware of every single day. We all have to cognitively fight that mindset every day, because fear, not feeling good, feeling down, feeling mildly depressed, all those things just strengthen the fixed mindset thing where you're just like, I can't do it. I mean, if it's in front of me and I know what to do, okay. But I'm looking at this, it seems a little complex. The answer doesn't come to me right away. I can't do this. You know what I'm saying? That's a fixed mindset. And that comes from when you're not feeling good about the situation. Also, AKA not feeling good about yourself, right? Because if you were feeling really good about yourself, and here's the key, if you were feeling really good about yourself, then you are in a way more resourceful state of mind, which is now a growth mindset. And in that growth mindset, and it's the opposite of the fixed mindset. You're like, I'm just not smart enough to do this. But in the growth mindset, you're like, I'm just going to peck away at this. Little teeny steps. Wait, I'm going to cover a little bit of dirt here. I'm cover a little bit of dirt here. I'm going to pry up a rock over here. I'm going to look under a rock over here. And I'm going to start looking around for different avenues to maybe solve this problem, right? So now, to be in that growth mindset, I mentioned earlier what I call an emotional bank account. You know, this world just kind of sucks stuff out of you, right? It just sucks the life out of you sometimes. And that emotional bank account will go empty. And when a problem comes up that you have to be creative and solve, you got nothing left to do that because you're feeling kind of bad. Right? And you got to be feeling kind of good to be in the resourceful state of mind. So I've already kind of said this, but I'm going to say it again. Get around the right people. Get around positive people. Watch good movies. Watch funny movies that make you laugh. Read jokes. Right? Hang out with a buddy of yours it's humorous. That's always cracking jokes or just funny. Go to a comedy show. All right? Laugh. Take a walk in the nature. Right? Do something tiny. Right? Get around the right people. Watch great movies. Listen to great speeches. Watch great podcasts like this show. All right. And that puts you in a better, that builds your emotional bank account and puts you in a better place where you feel better. And now you've got the resources. You're in the state of mind of the growth mindset. You now are resourceful and you can do it. You can figure out amazing things.
Love it. Love it. Wow. Definitely mic drop moment there for sure. I just want to backtrack a little bit here. Just acknowledge Zach. Because fear leads to paralysis and inaction, right? Paralysis analysis. Sometimes that fear makes us, want to analyze things, and then we get paralysis on that. So definitely take action for sure. And then Yolanda talking about public speaking, that fear, a mentor can help us focus on the positive aspects of public speaking, right? In general, a mentor can help. A mentor, a coach can help them. I have and continue to have some amazing mentors in my life. Thank God for them, for sure. And then, okay, one more from Zach, right? Building your emotional bank account is also going to allows you to transcend emotions and live more authentically. Absolutely. And love that, Zach. Zach, you and I need to reconnect, sir. Appreciate you, bud. Well, yeah, let's keep it rolling here. We got a few more minutes as we get into the top of the half hour or the bottom of the half hour, whatever we call it. So we want to chat real quick here on last piece here before we wrap up, and that is on growth, right? So here's the question for you. So from being a junior Olympian wrestler to now being involved in education and coaching, how has your athletic background influenced your approach to teaching others about personal growth and breaking free from limitations?
Well, I tell you, Steve, I spend a lot of time with our youth. And what I'm going to say next just doesn't involve only our youth. It obviously involves adults as well. But with our youth, you got to figure, youth have limited experience. They haven't had time to become really good at a lot of different things. So as youth, I always encourage them. I say, find something that you like. Find something that, gets your heart pounding a little bit, that you think is kind of cool, right? And then spend time becoming good at that. Once you become good at just one thing, you now have something to work with. Okay. And when I was young, I didn't have much going for me at all. The only thing I thought I could do was maybe wrestle, play football, right? Sports, right? So I became good at sports, and that gave me my self-esteem. And it took a while to figure this out. But what happens is when you become pretty good, you don't have to be the best. When you become pretty good at one thing, what you can do is eventually you can learn to transfer the skills, some of the knowledge, but more importantly, the winning habits over to another area of your life. I was terrible in school. I was a C student, just enough to stay eligible to play sports, right? But what I eventually did was I transferred over the winning habits of an athlete, being there every day, getting there early, you know what I'm saying? Outworking the person next to you, staying later, not going home until the work is done, right?
Yeah.
The winning habits and much, much more. I transferred over the athletes' winning habits to the classroom in college for the first time in my life and started making the dean's list semester after semester after semester. And it was shocking, but it was eye-opening. And at that point, I could only imagine where I was going to be 5 years from there.
Love that. Love that. That's great. Yeah, listen, you're a great book, Atomic Habits by James Clear, on creating those habits. Also, you mentioned on mindset. I want to talk about the book Mindset by Carol Dweck. Great book. Dweck, I think it's Carol Dweck. And I'm not into labeling people, right? So I don't believe that you either have one or the other in your entire life. I think there's places in your life where you either have growth mindset or fixed. There may not be, you're not either a growth mindset as a person or fixed, but definitely there's some great value in that book for sure. All right, we're wrapping up here. I want to kind of conclude the show. If you can, Dan, just tell us, I know you have an offer. I'm going to flash that up on the screen. Tell us the best way for a community to reach you, any final thoughts, and that offer you wanted to share with them.
Oh, great. So if you Google Dan Blanchard, author, speaker, you'll see me everywhere. I'm all over the social medias, the Facebook, the LinkedIn, the Twitter, etc. I'm on Amazon under Dan Blanchard and Daniel Blanchard. On Amazon, I have a Medallia TV show, YouTube channel. Of course, don't forget the TEDx. Type in Dan Blanchard, TEDx. You'll see me everywhere. Or my website, granddaddysecrets.com. You'll see me everywhere. You won't have any trouble finding me. And also, I have a special gift for everybody in the audience today for the next 24 hours. Actually, for this 24 hours and then at midnight tonight. If you go on Amazon and type in Dan Blanchard, type in A Fighting Chance. That's the book I was telling you about, my memoir. Go to the ebook version. And on your right-hand side, it'll say click for or purchase for 000. It's free to midnight tonight, the ebook. All right. Click on that button. The book, the ebook version will go, Amazon will send it to your email, and the book is yours for free. And I think that with that book, you're really going to enjoy it, and you're going to be motivated to try and do some big, crazy, cool things.
Love that. Appreciate that. Make sure to reach out to Dan, get his book. Shameless promote of my own book. Get your copy, The Master Connector, The Tao of a Master Connector. Also, special thanks to our host and sponsors, Total Event Staffing. Thank you, Cameron. Enjoy your time in Mexico, the rest of your time in Mexico. But we are at the end here. So we're going to wrap up the show as we always do. We do a little tradition. We call a countdown to crush it. I want you to make sure, and Dan, you can participate with us. We're going to count down with our fingers from 5 all the way down to 1. Then we're going to smash the screen by putting our fist in the camera, by yelling out, crush it. And community, you go ahead and you can actually count with us just in the comments as well. But we appreciate you. I put in the comments, we're going to be on next week, same bat time, same bat channel, episode 127, next week, Wednesday, August 22nd with Max Trailer, Code to the Unlimited Connections, right? It's going to be a great show. The link is on that. Make sure you get registered for that so you don't miss it and you get the reminders. But we are excited. You have definitely, Dan, helped us bring the light today and really shine our light on the world. So we're appreciative of you, community. Thank you, everyone who participated, was in the comments. Thank you again for everybody. Yolanda, very good. I'm glad we're here for you, Yolanda, and everyone in our community. And I don't mean that in a funny way. I mean that with every brain fiber in my being. So, but we appreciate you. Let's count down to crush it, and then we'll end with a video and we'll go from there. Have an amazing day. Got to thank you from Zach here. Zach appreciates it. We appreciate you. So ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Crush it. All right. Thanks to everybody. Enjoy the rest of the week. We'll see you next week, and stay tuned for the closing.